What is up guys, Wraec here with a new video, and today with an updated version of my Star Swordsman Mockman transition skill review. Actually posted this one already yesterday, the other version of this video, and after I posted this a lot of people were very worried. The reason for that being, during my review of the skills, I explained that, well, it says when taking damage from active skills or basic attacks, and that this in some cases doesn't work together with shields. For example, this one here requires you to take damage from active skills or basic attacks, and in my testing it didn't work with shields. We tested that with an SQH in Flame Shrine, never got a skill to activate. So that was a thing. And after my video, as people focus a lot on Star Swordsman Mockman, they went ahead, they tested Mockman and tried it out in Flame Shrine and other game modes. Brownie from Brownie Games, YouTuber, I will link him to you in the description, does great videos, in fairly good contact with him. And he also went ahead, took his Mockman to Flame Shrine, tried it out, and could prove that this skill description indeed is wrong. So the base for my review in that point is wrong. And let's take a look at this video that he sent me. We can show that right now. So here it is. Before we start, in the video is only 4 seconds long, as you really wanted to focus on the part that is very important to us. I have to explain in advance, it only takes a fraction of a second what we want to see here. First of all, the situation is we have Mockman in the back row. He already did an active skill, charged up his transition power, which he needs to do any skills. We can also see that he has a fairly big shield, way too big to be broken by any of those Flame Shrine enemies. Kamat in this case. Kamat is a little bit special. His basic and his active skill both attack the back row, so he will always hit Mockman in this back row. In the situation that we are observing here, he already attacked, so you won't see an attack by Kamat. What you instead see is already one counter attack. This purple pinkish line on the screen is a counter attack because he hit the SQH, and of course one of SQH's skills is to counter attack, or to make her allies counter attack whoever attacked her, essentially. What you also need to know about this is, while the counterattacks of SQH might seem like one passive skill, there are actually like buffs that are on the hero. So every single hero basically triggers a skill, which also means that other skills can happen in between. And the hero that is in this freeze frame, essentially invisible, is an MFF, and you will see right after MFF does her counterattack, there will be a slight, very slight green symbol on those Kamat, and this is what we're looking for. Very slight, only for a fraction of a second. You should basically keep your eyes on Kamat the entire time, as SSM has a shield, so he didn't take any damage. You can take your eyes, don't take your eyes off Kamat, and you will see it in just about a second. We can watch it multiple times. Bam, there it was. And it's really only there for a second. We can try to watch it again, because there it was again. And it is a special symbol. It rotates a little bit. It looked quite fancy. We saw those symbols before. They were bugged. Now they only appear for fractions of a second. And there is this counterattack to the front row as intended. And then the other counterattack of his regular skills. So not when he starts moving, that's not the skill we're looking for. And it's just this symbol. Okay, so we saw this now. Brownie proved it. Thanks for that, mate. And with that, I want to come to a little disclaimer about the videos here. And the little disclaimer I want to say is, we are judging those heroes for now only by the skill description. This means I don't have the hero to test it. And while in this case, there was an SSM readily available, and I was happy that I could show you this real in-game testing footage, but it still doesn't save us in this review from further errors. For example, in the last one, we have the same error in here actually when taking damage. It might be right, it might be wrong, we have no idea. The H isn't very precise with this. And while in this case we had a Mockman readily available, you all can imagine that once we go into heroes that are less common, if we go, for example, and take an Azrael, which I think probably nobody has, at least not with a high Destiny transition, so that we can do some real testing. And I can tell you in advance, he will be very controversial. I don't think he's a good hero, and his skills are very weird. So that will be something for the future. But keep that in mind, that when we look at those heroes right now, there can be errors due to a DH not being able to write skill text that are correct. In the future, which is the far future, sadly, because as it currently stands, to get an A6 hero that is basically our Destiny rank 6 hero that unlocks this last skill, it will still take about a year, which is insane. A year or even longer with the current rate. Reason for that, I can show you that as well, is the Transition Temple. If we take a look at the Transition Temple, I'm currently level 3, which is the max that you can have. You cannot be level 4 at this point because I got every single resource that you can get. And I'm only level 3 and pretty far off actually from level 4. It is not that I'm close. I would need to upgrade one of my heroes to Surge and then one from Surge to Chaos actually. And then to level 100 as well. And I calculated that even if we get the same rewards as in the Shishi event, I wouldn't reach level 4 in the next big event. There is about one big event per month. And you can see I'm level 3. And to get an... Where is it actually? Where is it actually? 1 second. Was confused for a second, found it. And to get an A6 hero or Destiny rank 6 video, you can see at level 3, I can't even have an Destiny rank 4 hero. And if we scroll down, we have to see a 1 in this last area to build it. We can see that's only the case at Temple level 10, so 6 more levels, and I won't even reach 4 with the next big event, and we already had one, so I needed 2 big events just for this one temple level. So if they don't release any new bosses or something like that, it will take like a year. So that's why we do those videos, that's why we do the preliminary judgment on those skills and talk about it while there might not even be the opportunity to test it yet. Which doesn't mean that later on I will do testing again. I will definitely do that. We did the same actually with Tree of Origin. It was released, we took a look, I said what I want, what I like, and then later on we did it in more detail. Okay, 7 minutes already done. Let's hop into the review. We'll keep it short this time with the correct info. When taking damage from active skills is wrong. It's just when taking active skills, so it's the same as actually his regular skill. If we take a look at that, says sending energy when taking active skills or basic attacks. So no longer, so doesn't require you to take damage, just to be hit essentially. And then you do your attacks. That being said, let's take a look at the skills as well. When a battle starts, when Self is in battle as substitute, inflicts on Ripper. If Self is in the front line, star ascending state. Self in the back line, star descending state. So ascending, defensive one, descending, offensive stance. So that's important to keep in mind. I confuse that all the time so that you know that. So when taking damage from active skills or basic attacks, as we said is wrong, in the state of star ascending, consumes 6 layers of transition power to deal 2000% of attack damage to frontline enemies, also inflicts damage, caps at 1500% of Star Swordsman Mockman's attack, equal to 10% of their max HP. If Self is in the state of star descending, instead consumes 6 layers of transition power to deal 1200% of attack damage to backline enemies, cannot release the skill without enough layers of transition power. So we can see first one, defensive one, lots of damage, 2000% of attack damage, and then extra damage at about 10% of the max HP, caps at 1500% of Star Swordsman Mockman's attack, which should definitely limit the 10% in PvE at least. In PvE, the 10% should be more than enough to reach the cap here. In PvP, maybe even as well, depending on what heroes you hit. So this 10% is already a lot, which will be important later. Still, if we take a look at it, this is just 1200% damage given to backline enemies. So we hit 4 enemies, this only hits 2, which kind of moves it a bit closer together. Basically, you are still doing more damage with the first part, with the star ascending one, which is the defensive stance. This is still stronger. In both cases, we consume 6 layers of transition power, which means we would need to do an active skill, and then you can basically trigger this one single time. will be fixed later on, will be way better in the A6 version actually. Let's take a look at the other skills, regular stuff, go for active skill, get your 6 layers of transition power. Next one, transition skill damage might seem good, but then we have this here, deal extra damage equal to 8% of the target's words! Caps at 1500% of Star Swordsman Mockman's attack. Should be way better, honestly. Should be way better. If that triggers every single time, that's insane. I like this. Extra 50% chance to stun the target, especially with the upgraded A6 version. You can definitely, I think, get some cool stuns out there. Make him like a mini Eilermag. I wouldn't say mini Eilermag, because with the A6 version, that is even more insane than Eilermag, actually. If you like the stuns on Eilermag, well, build yourself counter-attack Mockmans for stun. Can be insane. This for damage, this for stun. Very nice. Additionally, reduces the target's attack by 15%. We have a lot of targets that we reduce the attack of. You can either go for crit reduction. This is absolutely good if you run that with DGN. Your opponents basically can't crit anymore. Or you can go for the attack reduction. Both are fairly good things. No matter in what state, deals extra 1200% of attack damage to frontline enemies and inflicts damage. Caps at 1500% of Star Swordsman Mockman's attack equal to 8% of their max HP. So with the front line again. This one is decent. Basically 2700% to frontline enemies. Not bad. Or we take 2000% to all enemies, which is way better. Because instead of just hitting 2 enemies, we obviously hit 6. So yeah, that's just a lot better, I think. Then again, this is probably 2 hits, so that's also kind of nice. If you go for PvP and you want to go through unbending will layers, well, 2 more hits. No matter what state, deals extra 1600% attack damage to backline enemies with 50% chance to inflict 1200% of attack damage for 1 time. Those are pretty similar, though I think the front one is still better than this one. I would just go for this, honestly. You can test the other 2. Maybe if you want some extra hits for the front line, it can be beneficial in some situations. But go for this one first, and I think you will be doing pretty well. Additionally, increases self-all damage dealt by 15% for 2 rounds. Additionally, restores self-HP by 25% of the damage dealt. This one is kind of interesting, by the way. Increase self-speed by 100. If you really want him to be bursty, okay, yeah, you can do that. Then we have this HP. That he restores, which kind of makes him a little bit of an Eloise. It's kind of cool, because this is when he gets hit that he triggers the skill. So, like, he triggers the skill, instantly restores HP. It's a little bit Eloise vibes, which is kind of cool. You have, like, Transcendence Eloise with this, basically. Very nice. And additionally, increase self-all damage dealt. Well, all damage dealt is huge. For PvP, I could see this, and I think those 2 are universally interesting, I think. This one maybe for PvE, though. Then again, we hit so high numbers in PvE and are hit so insanely hard by those enemies that this might not even be of very much importance. Maybe you're just gonna go for this, take the all damage dealt. And I think, like in the PvP situations, you will never use that. Especially in current shield meta, you will rather go for the damage or for the speed, probably for the damage. And just ramp up your all damage dealt. Last one, let's look at this one. This is the huge upgrade actually to those to the first skill, and this is one that will require some testing that we can't do just now. I just want to say that because basically what happens here is we have the change when taking damage from active skills or basic attacks, which is likely wrong as well, and just does mean taking hits from active skill, not necessarily taking damage. In the Star Ascending, if self has 6 or more layers of transition power. So we no longer consume 6 layers of transition power, we just need to have 6 layers of transition power. Deals 2000% attack damage to the frontline enemies. So the skill is a little bit shorter actually, because it just has this first part, but of course we can trigger it multiple times per round as we no longer consume transition power. Therefore we lose this last part. Which is interesting when we compare it to the Star Descending one in a second. And then we have let's do that. Let's do that first. In Star Descending, it is if self has 6 or more layers of transition power, so basically the same. Deals 1200% of attack damage to all enemies. So before we dealt 1200% attack damage to backline enemies, now to all enemies. So we just deal 50% more damage with the skill and can trigger it multiple times. While this one got a little bit of a nerf and then, well, it can trigger multiple times now, which is kind of interesting actually. The descending form here is way stronger because we hit 6 enemies for 1200%. You can just calculate that. And then you will see if you have 6 times 1200%, it's 7200. This is just 4000 because we had 2 enemies. So that's a little bit of a difference if you just compare it by raw numbers. It can have some advantage to hit just 2 enemies for more damage. Then again, I don't think it's that insane of damage necessarily. For a single hit, it's not that insane, but we can, of course, if he gets hit 6 times in a round and has transition power, it will trigger 6 times, which is insane. So, personally, I think Star Descending Form, the base version, the 6 transition power skill is a little better than this one. You will have to live with both though, because you will cycle through both Star Ascending and Star Descending stance. So 12 more layers here at the Star Ascending form, consumes 12 layers of them to inflict extra damage, caps at 1500% of Star Swordsman Mogman's attack, equal to 50% of their max HP, and increases self-attack by 10% till the battle ends. I like the 10% attack increase, pretty nice. What I don't like is this is essentially the second part. We added here also inflicts damage equal to 10% of their max HP, caps at 1500%. And they buffed it to 50%. Like, as I said before, you're very likely to actually hit this cap of 1500% attack damage already with 10% of max HP. At 50%, it is possible that this doesn't even do more damage in PvE situation. It is very likely to not do more damage than this version in PvE situations, because you have this cap of 1500% of Star Swordsman Mogman's attack, which isn't even a very high cap actually. Some of those caps, especially if we take a look, let's just look at SFX for example, where you can see some series caps that are strong. Like for SFX we saw some strong caps. Where is it? Increases damage cap to 5000% of attack against all enemies. 5000%. And here we have an A6 Destiny transition skill, and it's 1500%. So that's I think is a little bit weak. What is not weak is the 12 transition power skill for Star Descending. Consumes 12 layers of them of transition power to deal extra 1200% of attack damage to backline enemies, with a 50% chance to inflict 1200% of attack damage, which can be inflicted up to 4 times. So this is essentially our active skill. The active skill with the chases and all of the stuff you learn to like. This is that, but it hits the entire backline. So this is a really insane skill. This is pretty mediocre. Then again, of course, you get all of this. You can't just get this skill, but it is quite weird that the defending stance is pretty much substantially weaker than the Star Descending part. I would have kind of liked if they put some more defensive traits in there, made it a little bit more worth it. But then again, that being said, I think as strong as this is with huge 1200% attack damage, nukes to the entire enemy team up to 6 times around, and everything that there is, it is kind of okay that there is like this skill in here to basically balance that a little bit, make it a little bit weaker, because it is very strong. It is very strong, and that's why also the thumbnail is no longer shows he is weak, which it did in the original version, but I corrected it in there, which I thought was kind of funny. And then no, he's great. He is great. He is a great hero. He has great skills. He will be a great carry. He got offensive skills, which is kind of cool. He got those counterattacks. He even maybe a little bit of LOE swipes. We have to see, and this is something that we have to test, how this really works out. Because I said it already, this can essentially trigger 6 times around. Usually those skills here, they all trigger when this happens. And I think this almost sounds too good. So we have to see if they really code it like that, or if they say, okay, if there is such a situation where we have a 6-layer skill and 12-layer skill, then it will only trigger on the 12-layer skill. Because look at that, you can trigger it 6 times a round. Increase all damage dealt by 15% for 2 rounds. If the 6 version triggers 6 times, so we get 6 times the all damage dealt, that seems insane, right? Or the speed, 600 speed, that's insane. And then we have all of those other damages here, which, well, on a often repeating skill are of course way more insane, because if you just get it on the 12th version, well, 2000% attack, okay, I mean, nice, we take it. If that triggers on the 6 transition power version that can trigger 6 times around, well, that's insane. So we kind of have to wait and see how that really is and how it really ends up. If it triggers on the 6th version, this will be bonkers. This will be absolutely enormous. If it doesn't, it is still great. It is still great. I say it like it is. It is still great. And I'm very eager to test him once we reach A6, once I weld my way there. And DH actually gave us some nice more ways to actually go there. I don't want to wait a year. Then I will test Mockman, because he seems like one of the coolest heroes at the time. And if you saw my video yesterday, I gladly take my judgment back and say now, he is the S tier hero that I think. And the nice thing, by the way, I initially thought he worked like he does now, which was also without testing, because I overread this part in his skill description. We saw the Chinese version, the auto-translate, and it was a little bit more in the direction of, well, just have him being hit and you will trigger the Destiny transition skill. And so the other videos I made about him are actually correct now, which is kind of funny. And I think he will be a great hero. You will do well to have him on your account. He is in the league of a DTV. He's in the league of a LFA. And at A6, maybe even surpassing them, because DTV, for example, doesn't have that much of a great skill there, given DTV is already a great hero. So keep that in mind. And with that 21-minute video, I managed to surpass the one from yesterday. Great on that, but I think it was kind of important to make a correct video. I unlisted the other one. You can still watch it if you want, if you click on the link, but given that it was such a huge part of my yesterday's video, that there is this taking damage word in there, I wanted to have one that doesn't include it and puts it in the right mood. So, I hope you liked the video. We will do more in the future, and for now, I wish you a great day, and we'll see us in the next one.